Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. Hopefully, everything is well with you. Hopefully, you are dollar cost averaging into the markets. We're going to do a quick breakdown of what's going on. We're going to talk about the US economy and what are some of the latest developments. What can we expect in the next few months? And of course, we'll take a look at a few cryptocurrencies, obviously, starting with Bitcoin. So let's jump into our charts here. And let's go to the weekly chart, and let me just choose a chart that's clean. This one. All right, so this is the chart that we use most of the time, and this one essentially is showing us a channel up pattern. And right now, Bitcoin is doing very well, in fact. The S&P 500 is doing very well too. We're gonna look at the S&P 500 chart in a bit. But what's happening right now is we're still in this block between $108,000 and $92,000. We gave you this a few months back, and I told you that breaking above this area would be a huge, huge indicator for Bitcoin. We did break all-time high prices in May, so just last month. But since then, we've recovered and we've had a retracement back down to the 20 EMA on the weekly chart. Overall, the chart is doing good. We don't need to see any rush, sudden movements. If we take a look at the monthly chart here, for example, so you can see the monthly chart, we had a few red candles. So 2 red candles, and now we're having our 3rd red candle. Hopefully it's going to be a green closure as well. And if we have a correction, some massive capitulation, always look back at the 20 EMA. That's currently sitting at $76,000. That would be your local bottom for Bitcoin. So that's a quick breakdown for BTC. We're still looking at $155,000 as the bull market all-time high. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Ethereum. That's what everyone is talking about and has been talking about for the past few months. This is essentially going to be a make or break deal for us. If Ethereum has a massive rally, that will be the cause or one of the main causes for an alt season, okay? Because Ethereum is going to drag all of the altcoins right behind it. So far, Ethereum has simply retested the October bottom from 2023, and it hasn't done a lot since. We're right below the 20 monthly EMA. As you can see, the yellow moving average is the monthly 20, and we're sitting right below that. So that is not a good sign, to be honest. If we have another correction, maybe we can dump down to $2,000, and then on the next go, we could break the 20. But breaking the 20 is crucial here. The fact that we're not is showing signs of weaknesses. So maybe there's going to be another retracement back down into this block between $2,350 and $2,000. If that happens, that's a great area to dollar cost average. But of course, none of this is financial advice, guys. This is just me speculating and me giving you my opinion. There are some people who are more bullish on Ethereum. For example, here's a post from Ted on Twitter. Ethereum has retested the lower channel once every cycle. In 2017, it led to 300x. In 2021, we got a 50x again. And here, if we're looking at this cycle, it could do, let's say, a 6x, and that will take us past $10,000. So it's sort of a rainbow chart, right? But only for support levels. And you can see Ethereum is essentially bouncing off this orange bottom line. Okay, and it has done that recently in 2025, just a few weeks ago. And if we manage to break past these local tops, if we go back to the chart, you can see we have these 2 tops here at around $4,000. Once we break those, I think we're going to enter a massive run for Ethereum. And that will happen once the markets are more certain of the future. And we're going to talk about some of the potential outcomes for the markets with the Federal Reserve Chair. We'll talk about that a bit later. But let me know what are your thoughts on Ethereum. I'd be interested to hear your thesis, whether Ethereum will play a crucial role in the next alt season or not. But I definitely think Ethereum is a key component here, even if we don't necessarily have a new all-time high, or let's say we don't get to $10,000, even getting to $7,000 will be huge for the markets, and a lot of altcoins are going to go up massively because of that fact. But you can see that altcoins are essentially crashing while Bitcoin is holding its own. So right now I would highlight BitTensor, great AI coin to look into. Uniswap is very low. I would say Chainlink is always a good pick, safe pick. And the top 10, if you really want to make some good gains, I'd avoid the top 10. If you want to be super safe, get Ethereum. You can get some Solana, some Cardano, and I would say Sui is a really good pick as well, a top layer 1 project. Let's go down the list a little bit. Let's see. Injective is sitting at a very, very good price here. So almost $11. That's $1 billion market cap. I think this can easily get to a $10 billion market cap by the end of the cycle. Virtual Protocol is doing okay over the past 7 days. Nothing crazy, but it is around $1 billion again. So if you're looking for a mid-cap project, Virtuals is the way to go. Once AI and AI agents are back in the hype, this will definitely be pumping. If you like DEXs, you can go for PancakeSwap, but I personally don't have any cake tokens. Aerodrome is another one you can look into. Jito is another one. This has a huge amount of TVL on Solana. The Graph is another safe AI coin if you're looking to get more exposure to AI. But that's just a quick breakdown on some tokens that I'd be eyeballing throughout this correction. Let's go through some news very quickly. So El Salvador makes history with NVIDIA. The president just secured the world's first sovereign quote for cutting-edge B300 chips following a meeting yesterday with Aaron Ginn, the CEO and co-founder of Hydra Host. These aren't just any chips, they're the most advanced artificial intelligence processors on the planet, and they're headed straight to El Salvador's National AI Lab. So this guy is going to not only be the number one or the first one to really adopt Bitcoin, he's going to try to be the leading state in terms of AI development. And we all know that Trump is trying to do the same with the United States. So I think more competition is definitely better for the market. And this is a great sign. And El Salvador is quickly becoming a rising nation in South America. So it's great to see. Next up, we have Bitcoin and Tether surge in Bolivia as inflation soars, with small businesses turning to crypto for stability. We've seen that with other countries, Nigeria being a major example. And we probably all of us saw the news last year, I believe it was, with the attempted coup in the government. So there's a lot of instability. Inflation obviously is high. So people are turning for more stable things, or some things that are less traceable or not traceable in some cases. And we've seen that over and over again. And there's just no way to remove Bitcoin unless you turn off the internet or something. Next up, we have Grayscale updates its top 20 crypto list for Q3 2025, adding AVAX and Morpho. So let's quickly break down this list here. Obviously, Bitcoin is number 1. Ethereum is number 3. Ethereum is number 2. Solana is number 3. Hyperliquid is number 4. Then we have Sui. And Sui has got a lot of potential as a layer 1. Chainlink, we have Avalanche, Uniswap, Aave, BitTensor, Athena, Virtuals Protocol, Story Protocol. I actually don't know what Story Protocol is. Sounds like a newer project. $3 billion market cap. Yeah, so this literally launched in February, and it's already got listings everywhere. So I can bet this has lots of vesting. Lots of vesting. Yeah, this is going to have lots of vesting. So right now we have 27.6% of the total supply out, and it's daily unlocks. So the supply will have increases on a daily basis, and you're looking. If we go to the beginning of 2026, you're sitting at 30%. It's not going to be too bad if you're investing for the year end, right? If you want to take profits by the end of this year, I don't think it's going to be too bad. But moving into summer 2026, you'll be sitting at 44% of total supply unlocked, which is a lot. And this will all conclude all the way in February 2029, the vesting unlock. So you can bet your asses that the early investors are going to want to take profits. Yeah, look at this. There's lots of venture capitals investing into the project. So be careful buying into coins like that. Anyway, back to the list. So Story Protocol, Aerodrome, which is something that I mentioned, Jito, which is something that I mentioned out of the top 100, Maple Syrup, and I've covered Maple a long time ago. I initially got it from Chico Crypto. He's the one who suggested the token to his followers, and I started looking into it. But I generally don't like investing into coins that are lending and borrowing projects. But if you are okay with that, you can take a look at Maple. Morpho, Helium, Grass, which is a coin that I held previously, and Geodenet. I don't know what that one is. It's a deepen project. Essentially, that's your top 20 list according to Grayscale. And then obviously consider Grayscale may have different targets and expectations from these projects. Maybe they're more long-term, or maybe the ROI they're looking for is not as high as you're looking for, right? Because you might be looking for a 500% move to the upside. They're only looking for a 50 to 100% to the upside, and that'll be enough for them to start taking some profit. So always make sure you understand that, because big money doesn't need 5,000% to the upside. We are the ones that need those kind of gains to, be more financially secure, but they don't need that because they already have lots of money, and they try to minimize their risk as much as possible. Now, with the new administration, we've had lots of uncertainty. Obviously, the tariffs had a huge impact on the crypto markets, but here, a few days ago, Trump just announced that, actually it was yesterday, that he's stopping all trade negotiations with Canada because of the tariffs that Canada is going to be imposing, or taxation. So they're putting a digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They're obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussion with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And we've all seen that Canada is trying to have a better relationship with the EU, and they're trying to essentially not be as reliant on the United States as they are right now, which I think is a smart move. But anyway, you can make your conclusions from that. Coinbase is the best performing S&P 500 stock in June, up 43%. And this is a pretty important milestone. This shows that there is demand for crypto stocks, right? Coinbase is a stock as well, or they have a stock rather. And if I were to invest into the S&P 500 or into any stocks for that matter, I would definitely look at Coinbase stocks, okay? That is pretty impressive. As well, we have some news from Tether. They're hitting a new all-time high supply with over $158 billion. This shows us that there's lots of money going into Tether. There's lots of money on the sidelines, potentially waiting for regulation to come into effect. And speaking of regulation, we could be looking at that by the end of September. So the White House crypto czar says that the crypto market structure legislation will be done by the end of September. This is obviously coming from David Sachs. So the bill introduced before August recess, markup first weeks of September, done by the end of September. This will obviously give lots of clarity for a lot of big money, and this will cause obviously a surge, hopefully a surge. The markets have been very unpredictable in the past 6 months, so we're hoping that this will have a good effect, a positive effect on the markets. Now, the S&P 500 is printing all-time high prices. If I can pull up the price action chart here. And the reason for that is because they're expecting the rate cuts to probably kick off in September. That's the expectation. Jerome Powell did say during his congressional hearing that we may have cuts coming as early as July, which is next month, if and only if we see that inflation is contained. So Jerome Powell is a weird guy. He doesn't want to cut rates because he wants to wait for future data to income. But when he is increasing rates or he's holding them stable, then he does it based on the current data he has. So he switches up his standards every single meeting. And, listening to these guys is like hitting yourself in the ears with knives. It really does nothing for you. So you can just, have an idea of what they think and what they're presenting to the public, but they can always go back on their words. They can always go back on the numbers and revise them. So don't, take all of the things they say with a pinch of salt. The markets, however, are taking this news very, very good. And Trump is looking to announce his potential candidates for Jerome Powell's seat. I think he still has 11 months as the Federal Reserve chairman. And some of the names that Trump is looking at is Scott Bessent, Kevin Warsh, Kevin Hessett, Christopher Waller, David Malpass. And obviously, if Trump recommends someone and they end up getting elected, they will be, doing Trump's bidding, which makes sense. Even though the Fed is supposed to be an organization that is not reliant on the U.S. government, it doesn't work for the U.S. government. But obviously, if Trump puts his guy in there, he's going to start cutting rates. And usually the administration or Trump or the president rather can suggest someone 3 months before the current chairman's term ends. But Trump may do that earlier, a few months before, even let's say 5 to 6 months before, to kind of make Jerome Powell less, or to actually take away some of the power that Jerome Powell has on the market. So let's say he introduces this, let's say he goes with Scott Bessent and he says, this will be your new chairman, or I'm going to introduce him as the new chairman, or I'm pushing for him to be the new chairman in 2026. And Scott comes out and says, once I become chairman, or if I become chairman, I will be cutting rates the way Trump wants to cut rates. Maybe they go down by a whole percent. And that will have a very positive effect on the markets. And then whatever Jerome Powell says for the rest of his term will be ignored, which will be very funny. I'd actually like to see that play out because it's going to be funny to see Jerome Powell's reactions. And he obviously enjoys the power he has over the markets, because even with a smirk, he can, have the markets go up and down like crazy. So having that power taken away from him is going to be interesting, even though some other guy is going to get that power and essentially do whatever he wants along with Trump. But something to keep in mind is that Jerome Powell was initially suggested by Trump back in 2016, and now they've kind of fallen out. So whether this is for real or they're having this theater fight for the public is, I'll let you judge that. But that's the latest that we have on the rate cuts. In terms of July, we're sitting at 81.4% of investors expecting a no change in the monetary policy. And if we go to the September meeting, we have a 74.8% chance of a rate cut. So they're going to cut by 25 basis points. And then we have another 57.7% expecting another 25 basis points cut in, actually, let me see. Yeah, another 25 basis points cut in October. These numbers can drastically change with what Jerome Powell says, with some massive events. You have to keep an eye on the CPI data and the unemployment rates. We have them over here. The forecast for the unemployment for the month of June is 4.2%, like it has been for the previous few months. And the GDP, that's the GDP. Let's see. And this is the CPI, or inflation. So the expectation for the month of May was 2.5%, or the forecast, and the actual inflation was 2.4%. So when the actual inflation is lower than the forecast, that is always a good sign for the markets. We don't have the forecast yet for the month of June, and July 15th is the date when we're getting the CPI. Okay, so that's going to be a very important date. If we take a look at trueflation, the current inflation rate in the United States is around 2%, 2.19%. And this is using the old method of calculation. So 2.19%. That's still inflation, but that's pretty good. But essentially, Trump is pushing for rates to be cut. Jerome Powell doesn't want to do that. Lots of countries, including the EU, are cutting rates. So we'll see what happens in the next few months. But I am expecting Q4 of 2025 to be very bullish, okay? Good morning from a very sunny but cold Sunday. I'm sorry that you're cold in the UK. Here in Canada, we're doing pretty okay, at least in southern Ontario, we're doing okay. And it's fairly hot outside. And let's go through some AI coins just so you guys are up to date with the AI market. So BitTensor is leading the category here, sitting at 2.9 billion. Near Protocol is right behind that. So these two coins I would recommend you look into as your top AI holds. If you're looking for something a bit more risky, I would go for Injective, which is sitting at $1 billion. Filecoin, to be honest, I would ignore Filecoin. I've held it for a long time. I sold with minimum profit because it wasn't doing much. Now, focus on the coins that are being mentioned by a lot of the big names in the crypto YouTube space. And the reason for that is because they will be mentioning those names and thus bringing more attention to the coins, causing pumps. And essentially, this gives you lots of opportunities to take profits. Even if it's not going to be a 500x%, whatever move to the upside, you'll still be able to sell with decent gains. The Graph is another mid-cap coin I'd look into. AOZ is being pushed by Alex Becker a lot. We have Aether, which is a project that I'm bullish on. Origin Trail is something you can look into. Destra is being pushed by a lot of the YouTubers on Twitter and YouTube, so such as Crypto God John on Twitter and Alex Becker on YouTube. So make sure to look into that. 0x0 is another one of those. TARS AI is another one of those. Let's see. Pinlink is another one that Alex Becker is very bullish on, and he's going to be mentioning Pinlink again because he is receiving pin coins, okay? The wallets that I'm tracking for Alex Becker are showing that he's receiving coins, which means he has some sort of a partnership with the project where he is going to be mentioning them by name and advocating for people to look into the project, which will cause massive price surges. With the market cap sitting only at 39 million, this can easily do a 10x from here. So those are some of the AI coins that you guys probably should look into if you're looking to ride this next wave, this next hype wave into Q4. So that's going to be it for this live stream. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, just around 25 to 30 minutes. Yeah, we discussed a few things. We discussed the US economy and where we're headed in terms of rate cuts. Just to do a quick refresh, July, we might have a cut. most likely not, but September 17th is when we're probably going to get our first cut, and that will kick off a series of cuts, probably leading into December as the last cut, which the Fed was looking to do 3 cuts. So they're going to do 3 cuts from September to December, and then early 2026, we're looking at the Federal Reserve chairman being replaced, and potentially more rate cuts coming over on the horizon in 2026. But we'll have to keep track of that and see what happens. It's very uncertain with the tariffs and with Trump in the administration. So make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you're not overexposing yourself to a lot of projects. Dollar cost average, pick and choose wisely. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. And always remember to donate and share your profits with obviously your family and with those in need. So you can find some links to donate in the description, or if you have your own ways to donate, feel free to do that as well. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, everyone, and have a good day.